Thing about the Type R is you can sort of tool around town with no problems at all. This makes it an easy car to live with, the ultimate daily driver. I wouldn't say sleeper because all of the things that they put on the car, all of the decorations, the spoilers and the wings, well, that certainly screams pretty loud, louder than the engine actually. But when you're doing your daily stuff, it's just as easy to drive as anything else you have in your garage. But when you start to unleash the beast, once you start kissing around 6,000 to 7,000 RPM, that's when things really start to come alive. This car really comes into its own. There's not a lot there when it's on the low end, and that could be a little bit disappointing for some people because, well, 400 Newton meters is a lot for a sedan, but not when you're talking about cult classics like the Type R. You're really sort of expecting power everywhere. But Honda has a trademark or a signature in the way they like to deliver the power. It's what the enthusiasts so eloquently and articulately say, VTEC kicked in, yo. And once that happens, I tell you what, it's a whole new ball game. You go from a little bit of low end power to a screaming sort of sound there, and that's when you hit 7,000 RPM and angels start flying out. And somewhere in Japan, a child is born. So you're doing the world a favor actually, because Japan has a population crisis. So the more you floor it, the more kids they have, because it's just such a beautiful thing. Now, before I start any review, I always talk about the seats because it all begins with a commanding and very involving seating position. You can have a really powerful car, but if you're not comfortable in it and you haven't got the great driving position, you're not going to get the most out of it. This one here is like it was basically woven around you. I mean, it is so dedicated and focused, and you've got these terrific bucket seats. I mean, these things sort of hug you like a lover you haven't seen in like 2 or 3 years. It's just so clingy. It's just wonderful the way it supports you. And then you've got the red accents and the way that the material feels. It's just really sporty. It screams performance everywhere. The only thing I've improved is probably in the back seat there, you don't have enough of the red accent. So you have this really loud sort of Type R seats in the front, and then it kind of is just all black in the back, with the exception of just very little stitching. They could improve that, I think, by just putting a few more splashes of red and just bringing the theme all the way to the back. Then inside here, it's very familiar for Honda owners. You've got that whole new TFT display here, or the multimedia display that's very easy to use. You see this in the CR-V and all the other new models. It's got Apple CarPlay, Android CarPlay, not in the Philippines though. You have to sort of download an app to bypass the whole thing. It's a licensing thing, but it is capable if you do that. You got the carbon fiber trim over here, the engine start stop. Just remember, you have to depress the clutch and press the brake, so that can get annoying for the first few times, but as an owner, you'll get used to it. It'll become second nature. But you know, when you're test driving cars, it's little small things like that. Steering is super well weighted. I mean, it's got the perfect sort of balance in between giving you just the right amount of feedback, and then it's got weight to it, so you feel like you're really sort of involved in something. You are part of the decision-making process, not just a passenger. This thing really has a nice balance to it. It's got a nice feel to it, and like turning in here, it's super sharp. So if you are, even the slightest movements is going to change the direction of the car, which is something that a lot of cars really need to improve on, is the accuracy of their steering. But the Type R, well, boy, they've done it really well. Another amazing thing about this car is it's broken the front wheel drive record of the Nürburgring. Now, 7 minutes and 43 seconds was at one point a mind-blowing achievement, even for stuff like the BMW M3 CS-L and other cars like that. These were supercars that were born and raised in the Nürburgring and couldn't break that 8-minute mark for a long time. Now, of course, it has been done, but for a front-wheel drive to do it, 743 is just staggering. Part of the reason that it was able to achieve those times in the Nürburgring is down to cornering speed. You see, not only has it been lightened and the structural rigidity improved by about 38%, but it's also down to the multi-link rear suspension over there, the new aerodynamics as well, that allow the car to corner at a lot higher speeds. Now, take a corner like Metzgesfeld. Now, this is a very popular corner. It's a medium speed corner in Nürburgring, and the cars would be doing about, the Type R would be doing about 150 kilometers an hour in that corner. With all these new improvements, it's up about 10 kilometers an hour from that. Now you add that over 73 corners, which the Nürburgring has, and that's how you shave off some lap time. But it's not just about the numbers. This is mostly about how this car makes you feel. It makes you feel like an absolute hero behind the wheel. It makes you feel like you really are part of the whole process, that you are one more moving component in this machine that is just designed to make you happy. But I know what you're thinking. All right, it's not how good this car is, it's how much better it is than the Subaru STI. Yep, I know, it's the elephant in the room, so we may as well address it. If you're gonna compare it track-wise, we haven't done that, but if I was a betting man, I would put my money on the Subaru only because of the all-wheel drive. It's a little bit more dedicated, a little bit more focused, a little bit more precise in what it does on the racetrack. Having said that, if you're looking at the overall package, there's a little bit more street cred with the Type R because it's also a little harder to get. So, as far as Poggy points are concerned, as far as exclusivity is concerned, this here is the ticket. So, you're going to have to sort of balance that out. Now, once it gets to the road, I'd be putting my money on this. Not that you should be racing on the road, don't ever do that. But I'm just talking about the overall experience here. Find the mountain road. It's just about being comfortable, and the car is not brutal. It just delivers just the right amount of power, and it's like a surge of power that you can easily modulate because it does come in on the high end. Look at this corner right now. Oh, this thing is just absolutely terrific the way it bites in. It just really likes to dive in there and eat the curbs. Another thing you can't have a conversation about the Type R without talking about these enormous brakes that it has. These Brembos are just suffocating. When you step on them, it's just like you almost want your eyeballs to jump out of your head. Well, that's what it feels like. It's like everything's just like, whoa! It gives you this level of confidence to be able to take this car to the limits. Remember the saying, it's not speed that kills, it's a sudden stop at the end. So you may as well beat them to it by doing it yourself, by hitting the anchors. And this thing has terrific anchors. It gives you that level of confidence you need to be able to flirt with the limits of this car. Really, really inspiring. You also have different levels here. You've got the comfort level, and it does take the edge off. I wouldn't say it transforms the ride, that would be an exaggeration, but it takes the edge off just a bit, so it removes the harshness. It still is firm, very, very firm actually, but think of it like, you know, being punched with and without a glove. I think that's about the best difference I could explain. There's also a lot to be said about this 6-speed gearbox over here and the short shifting. It's not as short as I'd like it. I prefer just a little bit shorter there, but it does give you this really nice feeling where you're sort of growing through the gears yourself, and it's not as hard to live with as the STI. The STI's got a much heavier clutch. It's a lot harder to sort of use the gears. Yes, it's going to sort of throw you around the racetrack in record time, but when you're doing the day-to-day stuff, it can be a little bit of a chore. So I do appreciate the balance of this gearbox here. If I had to choose, this would be a perfect compromise. See, I'm flooring it right now. It does take a while, but that's what I mean. It's just the magic sort of sweet spot there where it starts to sort of come alive.